Showtime. It is showtime. Hello, hello. Today is going to be our last weekly live show of 2023 because next week, the week between Christmas and New Year's, I am taking the time off. So, with that being said, welcome to this week's Influential Live Show. I'm your host, Stacy Rasky, and today is a doozy of a conversation. Super juicy, super powerful, crazy excited. As always, if you are joining me, be sure to invite your friends. If you're enjoying the content, invite your friends to be a part of this amazing community if you're finding value in what we're sharing. So I would love to know, as we are heading into the holiday weekend, any exciting Christmas plans? I myself, the hubs and I have scheduled. We are going to go to the bougie movie theater where we picked our seats, the leather seats, the reclining, and we're going to see the new Avatar movie because, it's only been 8 years or something. Been a minute. So, but I would love to know from you. What do you have planned for Christmas Day? And let's see here. We got our comments. Awesome. So, the secret success. I don't have friends. I have partners in crime. I love it. That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Oh, that's so good. Right? That's me too. I have partners in crime. One I just have been married to for 20 years at this point. I love it. That is so funny, Doug. You're hilarious. I know I'm one of your partners in crime, right? So the reason this came up, this was actually in conversation. I had my local Tampa Bay leader meet up last night, and we got to have this amazing conversation. And we were talking about motivation and how often we as leaders, as we're trying to elevate those around us, are like, okay, do the people in our lives need motivation or inspiration to change or to move the needle forward? Do people on our team need motivation to get out there and get after their goals? Do the people in our world? And then for those of us who are in the business of transformation and elevation, is this something we see in our clients where they're like, man, I struggle with consistency on the days that I'm not feeling motivated, or I'm not showing up online on the days that I'm not feeling inspired, right? I mean, give me some love if you ever have those days where you're like, yep, I don't create content when I don't feel inspired. I know from personal experience, I've fallen into that trap myself. Blah, 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 right? Okay. So I have fallen into that trap myself. So here's the thing. Motivation, inspiration, whatever it is that we've been relying on as that fuel to push us forward, they're external conditions. They're external conditions. They are variables that can ebb and flow. They can often not be within our control, right? Because, if we're not feeling high energy, if we're not feeling our best, well, I'm not feeling motivated today. So do we not take the actions we know we need to take? So how do we move away from needing that push, right? And I always say, like, a motivation is the push forward, because we're kind of like, I don't know, I know I need to do it. Whereas passion or your why, right, will pull you forward. Passion's that fire, that energy that will pull you forward. And we know when we get into that, not just inspired, but the inspiration starts taking shape. It starts building momentum because now it's turning into that fire of passion and that fuel pulls you forward. And it's a very different energy. But it's not the passion that is going to keep you going at the end of the day. What is really going to keep you on track long term to eliminate any of the external conditions like inspiration or motivation is actually living within your values. Living in your values. Because if your compass is set to living within your primary values, and even if you have, for example, 6 core values, 7 core values, 10 core values, whatever your core values are, your personal values, all of those can be distilled down to 1 or 2 main ones, right? So even for myself, I have 4 primary core values, but they can be distilled down to, really, if it was just 1, it'd be respect. Because if I am respecting everything, I know that I'm being responsible for myself. I know that I'm not taking responsibility for shit that's not mine. Like, that's the one core value that everything is built on top of. If I am living in integrity with the value of respect, I stay on track and I am consistent. Anytime I deviate from that one value, everything starts to cascade in getting results that I don't want, or it's sabotage or whatever it is. Rather than constantly seeking motivation to stay on track. And this is a massive paradigm shift as you go into the new year. If you're like, fuck motivation, fuck inspiration, if I am clear in my values and I focus on living in integrity with those values and allowing that to drive your actions, your choices, your inner dialogue, how you show up for yourself, how you show up for others, that becomes the focus, therefore the consistent follow through. So let's take a step back. Even if you have core values for yourself, I encourage you to reset. Because if you did your values 6 months or a year ago, and you are doing a lot of personal growth and development, it's definitely time to revisit your values, just as a reset. Even if they end up being the same values, you may have different language around what that looks like, what that feels like living in integrity with those values. And what really happens too as you're developing your values is thinking about, what does it look like in practice? What are the examples of you living in integrity with those values? Well, the examples of what that looks like for me right now is very different than what it looked like a year ago. And I made mine a year ago. So now it's resetting the language, resetting what those look like, what it feels like, and what is that cascade. Now, if you don't have your values, you can literally Google values list. Lots of people have them, right? A lot of stuff around EOS. There's a values list inside Thomas Keenan's book on Fuck Your Business. I believe if you go to BreneBrown.com on a lot of the different resources associated with the different books, you can actually pull up the values list. But you can get a list of just values as like a word jogger, and just start with circling all the words that are important to you and begin that process of distilling down to your main one or two. And then clarify, what does that look like? And if you were to show up living in integrity within that value, how would that change who you're being, what you're doing, what you're having, what you're experiencing? It's literally, it's a short, quick concept to explain, but it's definitely something where it takes work for us to clarify what it looks like. And it's a big shift because we're really empowering ourselves in a new way to show up for the vision that we want to create, for the relationships we want to have, for the mindset, the emotional intelligence, the health, the wellness that we desire to have, the impact we want to make in the world. So I just go back to using the example of myself, right? Like if I am living in integrity with respect as my primary value, that means I am taking radical responsibility for myself. That means I am respecting my time. I am respecting my commitments. I am respecting and taking responsibility for getting my ass up and taking care of my body, going for the walk, going to the gym, because I know I feel better. I show up better. I serve better when I take that time to love my body, respect my body. If I am leading and living in integrity with the value of respect, I am making it a point to show up on time for conversations with my husband, right? To nurture that relationship and prioritize even the hard conversations, showing up emotionally available and prioritizing things that are important to me. If it's like, okay, how can I do things to show him love and support, right? Because I respect him and I respect our relationship. So it's prioritizing that time rather than feeling motivated or inspired to show up for the relationship, because we all do it, right? Think about the motivation and the inspiration we need to get our ass in the gym, right? Why we are always needing to look at what is the desired result that we want, not the steps we're taking, but what is that going to give us? What's the benefit of those results too? So I might not like going to the gym. However, I love how I feel afterwards. So those are the things to take into consideration here. Same thing when it comes to respect with our leadership. If we respect our role as a leader, we're going to be willing to show up for the tough conversations. If we respect our team, if we respect our clients, we are going to hold to our boundaries and not take responsibility for shit that's not ours. We are not going to enable toxic behavior. We're not going to enable people not living to the values and the culture that we've established within our organization or within our team. So it's a very, very big difference. And so that's why I encourage you to clarify down to the one or two key fundamental value that you are like, you know what, this is what I am about, and allow that value to begin to define how you live, how you love, and how you lead. Becomes a game changer. What does it look like to hold to that value in every one of those situations? That will begin forming the different action steps. It will begin shifting the commitment to the lifestyle you're creating and eliminate that need, that attachment to those external conditions and variables. And I am one of those people who historically, I am great at my routines when I'm at home. And the second I travel, sticking to my routine, I am not maintaining living in integrity to my value of respect. I got to own it, right? I got to look in the mirror and say, yep, I flex on travel time trips because that's my old sabotage habit loop. So that used to be my habit all the time, but now it just creeps up when those external conditions change. So, let me know if you find yourself challenged sometimes. Do you ever find it, when the variables change, when the routines, like going into the holidays right now, the schedule's different? Are you finding yourself saying, like, it's hard to stick to my schedule? It's hard to stick to my routine. It's only as hard as we make it. It becomes a lot easier to hold to those boundaries with ourselves and those commitments with ourselves when it is about the identity of who I am as a leader, is about me living within my values, my core values, that I am willing to follow through with my commitments because it's just a non-negotiable, right? It's not being an asshole holding to your boundaries. It's not being inflexible through the changes in the schedule during the holiday season. It's being adaptive. It's saying, okay, maybe, kids are off of school. I got to run people around more. I got to do some different things. I'm going to parties, doing the stuff. But where you say, for me to live in my values, I am going to make adjustments to my schedule. I'm going to have plans for how to navigate going to the parties so I don't overeat, don't overdrink, and I'm just using those as examples because that's easy stuff to do. It's easy to just focus on having a good time and completely let go. But when we do that, are you still respecting? And again, I just go back to respect because that's mine. But are you still respecting your commitments? So for me, I'll ask you, are you still respecting the values you are claiming you live by? So this is a powerful, powerful practice. And it's a simple exercise just to give yourself a few minutes to go through these, the values list, clarify your key, one or two that are the foundation of everything, and then really identifying what that looks like. It's very simple. But the reason I bring this up today too is because this can help shape how you get your goals in 2023. Because if you know what it looks like to hold to living in your values, being in integrity with these core values, these just key to one or two, how simple it is to say, okay, this is what I'm doing to support that. This is me living these values. And then apply those actions to your goals, your health, your relationships, your wealth, your impact. What does it look like to show up in service of that? So I would love to know how this is landing for you. This has been an absolute game changer for me. It's something I've leaned into this week as I go into next week, mapping out my own 2023, the goals, my schedule, all the things to support the new year and how I'm going to be showing up in the new year. And this is one of those elements, right? It goes back to the foundation. Everything that I want to elevate in my life is within my control because I've got to elevate myself living in the values and living in integrity for what I desire. So that is my challenge to you, my exercise to you. Give yourself a few minutes to do that, especially before you go into the holidays. Because as you go into the holidays and you're engaging with friends, engaging with family, constantly have that awareness. Are you living within your values, in integrity with your values? And what is amazing about this is the more clarity and awareness we have to where we are deviating from our values and living within them, behavior change and belief change becomes easier because we know the lane and the framework for what we're adjusting. It isn't this big, overwhelming thing anymore. It's saying, okay, I have a clear plan. I see where I am deviating or out of integrity with this plan to live in this value. And here's exactly what it looks like to be in it. So I know when I'm starting to deviate away from it. Now it becomes very tactical and practical for the belief and behavior modification that we know we need to do, right? At the end of the day, everybody always tells me, man, I just need more accountability. I need to be more consistent. I need to be more disciplined. Those are all results that come from living your values. That's simple. So I'd love to know how this lands for you. I would love to know, even more so, when you do this exercise, what is the clarity that comes from this for you? Maybe you've got some key words intuitively that are already coming up for you. Like for me, initially it was like, oh yeah, my main values, it's respect and responsibility. And I was like, wait, even responsibility can be distilled down to respect. That's it. That is one value. If I lived and led and loved by that one value, or truly inside and out, everything would shift exactly how I desire it to. And so I'd love to know what those values are for you. If you're like, yep, here's my main one or two. What does it look like for you to make sure you are living inside those values? What does it look like when you're not? Because you know your normal habit loops, sabotage cycles, behaviors that are not in integrity with that. I would love to know when you identify that. And this is our time to be honest without judgment, no judging. It's gotten you here. The old habits have gotten you here. This is our opportunity to create positive momentum and change in the direction we want to go. So what are the values? What does it look like to live within those values? Who are you being? How are you showing up? What are you doing? What are those key identifiers of when you start to deviate outside of living in integrity with those values? Because we're pretty consistent. All of us are consistent in how we like to get in our own way. And what is your plan to either prevent or recover from that deviation, so you know you're continuing to move the needle forward? And how do these things support your goals? The big goals, the big money goals, the big impact goals, the big relationship goals, investment goals, whatever it is. How do these values and living within them support those big goals? Big, juicy stuff. And it's a simple exercise. Most of this you could get done actually in just a few minutes, right? Not overthink it, just brain dump on paper and bam, there you go. There's your plan. Super simple. So I'd love to know from you. All right. Like I said, this is the last live show of 2023. We are exactly 1 month from our influential Freedom Summit. So right now through December 27th, you can get your tickets, and I have an amazing gift discount. So if you enter all caps Summit Gift, you can get a discount off the tickets to our Freedom Summit. That is my holiday gift to you. And just like the holidays, it expires December 27th of this year. So grab that as soon as you can and join us for an amazing lineup and a powerful, powerful experience in January. All right, I will see you there. Thank you, as always, for being an amazing member of this community. And remember, you are enough. And I will see you in 2023. Happy holidays.